Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to a new series, actually, on the TED Show. This is Transformation Talk. Very excited. My co host, really the host with the most, this is Donna Morton-Morgan. We're going to talk about transformation every week. We're going to bring on a special guest. We're just going to talk about the whole transformative process. So you'll get to hear it from people who have been through it and maybe get some insights and motivation and be inspired by their stories. And our guest today is the one and only Stephanie Bowman. She is with One Heart for Women and Children. She's got fantastic energy too, and it's an honor to have her as our first guest. So nobody wants to hear me talk about transformation. They want to hear Donna kick it off. So this is sort of Donna's brainchild. Been wanting to do a show, a podcast with her for a while. And I absolutely love what she primarily came up with. I got to give kudos to you. All right, Donna, tell them about you before we introduce and start talking about transformation with Stephanie.
Well, welcome everyone. Let me do a quick intro before I introduce Miss Stephanie. My name is Donna Morton-Morgan, and I am the president of Women of Culture Incorporated, president of Caribbean American Diaspora Alliance, real estate broker at Florida Summer Homes Realty, and life coach at Inner Vibes Consulting. And so, transformation talk has been on my mind for a while now, and I put it on the back burner. And it's like Ted came into my mind and goes, Donna, I know you want to say something. Literally, that's how great minds work. And it reignited basically me saying, you know what? Of course. So here we are. And so what is transformation talk? So it's really about hearing from individuals that have transformed their lives in some way, whether it's addiction, whether it's overcoming health, some type of trauma, etc., whatever that is for you. And the great thing is, especially if you are now using your pain for a purpose, if you are transforming others because of your experience, we definitely want to hear from you. And this is what the show is all about. And so
Beautiful. You got the vibes too. You got the hair going. You got the flowers in the background. We got at Inner Vibes Consulting on Facebook and Instagram. I love it. I love this whole concept, and I think there's a lot of people who will benefit from this.
Yes, Ted, we don't realize that everything starts with the inner vibes. Everything, our creativity, the ideas. So when we are in that inner peace, then everything flows. The customers, the creativity, the partners, the donors that Stephanie needs, right? So we have to begin with the inner vibes. And so that phrase came to me for a coaching business. So Stephanie, let me just tell you guys about Stephanie. Stephanie, a snippet, really, because Stephanie Bowman is the founder, visionary, and CEO of One Heart for Women and Children in Orlando, Florida. She's been fondly dubbed as the modern day Wonder Woman.
That's accurate.
And we see her energy, right? So One Heart provides hunger relief, education, and community resources for the homeless and underserved in Orlando and the surrounding areas. She has been serving the community for over 20 years. From meal provisions throughout the year to the homeless, economically challenged families, monthly food distribution program, thrift store, oh my God, resource center. Thousands and thousands of our neighbors depend on One Heart to stay ahead of hunger and homelessness. God bless you, Stephanie. And we're gonna definitely let Stephanie tell us about the transformation. So we're gonna let her tell you all about that process that she went through. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you all and for this very first.
First
So,
one.
Yes.
yay! I want to start by saying every single one of us has a story. Every single one of us has a story, and we really don't know each other's stories until we have opportunities to be able to have a conversation. So, with that, being able to ask questions, being able to get vulnerable, get real with people at whatever level that is, and
Yeah.
depending on where we are, where we're having that conversation, really depends on how deep we really get into that into our stories. So I want to share a little bit of my story. And Donna, when you were saying that about whether it's medical or addiction or relationships, like every single one of those touches on where I was, and each one of them, from the medical, the cancers, the surgeries, the domestic violence, the addiction. I'm 24 years clean and sober now, and cancer free again. And every single one of those experiences has helped me to get to where I am today. And none of it's been done alone. Every single experience, there's been somebody, usually not the people that I think are going to be there for me, or with me as I'm walking through that transition. And it's pretty beautiful when we can meet, not only meet others, but really have that open, being open to whoever it is that's coming in to be part of that transition time. So a little bit more about mine. When I was 15 years old, there was some pretty traumatic things that had happened, and I really closed down. I closed down because I was raped. I got pregnant. I had an abortion at 15 years old, and my whole life changed. For the next 17 years, I was in and out of addiction and didn't trust a whole lot of people, and found myself homeless. By then, I had two children. My marriage was not a healthy marriage. The domestic violence had already started, and I was full in addiction. And I had a 6-month old and a 6-year old, and I found myself homeless, and I had never been homeless before. And not only was I homeless, I felt helpless. I felt invisible. I felt like I was in a black hole and didn't know how to get out. And there were people around that said, "You don't have to live this way anymore, and this is how." And with those people that they took my hand and said, "Come, come." My children went into foster care, and they were loved on for almost a year while I went to a drug and alcohol treatment center to learn how to live my life very differently, without the domestic violence, without the drugs, without the alcohol, without the drama, and learn how to love myself for the very first time in my life. And I will tell you that I'm so forever grateful for each and every person that came into my life to say, let me help teach you another part, or let me help guide you during this part of your journey. And I was 18 months clean and sober, and just got my children back when I was diagnosed with my first cancer. And the doctor said, you might not live. You have over 50% chance that you might not make it. And I'll tell you, that was the first time in my life that I felt stronger than ever. I felt more confident. I felt like, if this is the end of my time, I'm going to be okay. And so are my kids, because I'm going to get in and I'm going to teach my kids exactly what they need to learn. And I'm going to surround myself with people that are loving, kind, compassionate, people that will help fill us up and keep us filled up, and not, try and pull us down.
Well, I've heard this story before, but every time you tell it, it's just so moving, and my mind goes to all of the things that you had to triumph over to get where you are right now. Where does that resilience come from, Stephanie? Did you have it before everything? Was it always in there, or did you learn it from other people?
I really think that it's a legacy. It's legacy led. My great grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, they were all very strong women community in their communities, and also with being able to overcome adversities, being there with each other, sharing the love for each other, and also helping to um, helping with resources, really helping to connect where the connection needed to be made. I will share that my parents had to, when in the beginning, well, at the end of my addiction, my parents said, we love God so much, and we trust in the process that we have to let you hit the bottom that you need to hit. And I also felt, well, flip side of that, I did not want to put my family in jeopardy, because my ex-husband at the time was not, um, wasn't very nice. And I didn't want to put anybody in jeopardy. And that's also why we didn't go to any family or friends. That's why we ended up homeless. And I will tell you, as soon as I got clean and sober and called my parents and told them where I was, and got back in touch with my grandmother, they were all celebrating with me. And they have cheered me on and been a part of the process ever since.
That's so amazing.
It
And
really
and
is.
for you to even realize too that danger lurks when you are in a situation where a spouse is abusive, sometimes we do have to think about others when we need help, because yeah, people, especially now, are just
Yeah.
taking it out on family and friends.
I think another part of that, Ted, you had asked a question. I had this in me. I was taught at a very, very young age what survival meant, and how to not only love myself but love others. And I think through that process, even when everything happened at 15 years old and I started to lose myself, I didn't totally lose myself. In the times, and more so than not during that 17 years of addiction, I was living in survival mode, doing what I needed to do to get to the next place in life, wherever that was. And it was very freeing when I put the drugs and alcohol down and got into the drug and alcohol treatment center, and felt like, for the very first time in a long time, I felt like I could look myself in the mirror, and that I started to see who I really was, and start to believe in myself again, and see myself the way other people saw me. There were a lot of people that were around that said, "Let me love you until you learn how to love
It's a good. Oops.
heart for women and children." That's what
There
our
she
team
is.
does. That's what our team does at One Heart for Women and Children.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. I want to talk about One Heart for Women and Children.
Wait, so say that again, Stephanie. Let me love you until you learn to love yourself.
That's right.
Wow.
That's a song too. It's very powerful.
Yes.
I love, and that's what I do in my life coaching also. So I am a life coach, and speak on stages to share experience, strength, and hope, but also to empower others. And it doesn't matter if if it's man, woman, or
Right.
none of that really matters. I'm here just to love people. I love to love to love to love people, and I love to hug people. I love to
Yeah,
encourage
you're a
people.
great hugger.
And that's what we do at One Heart for Women and Children, really one person at a time.
So let's talk about that, because I think it's very important. You obviously turned around. A lot of people who figure out what their life is supposed to be, uh, deal with the addiction, deal with the things that are in their lives. They don't always take that further and make it their mission and their purpose. You've really created a mission and a purpose, and are impacting other lives. So talk about what One Heart for Women and Children does, and your why behind that.
Absolutely. The why is because nobody in the United States should ever go hungry or eat out of dumpsters. That's the why. We have a community that is very impactful. And I say community, whether it's Orange County, whether it's wherever it is in the United States, there are communities and resources everywhere. And it's about not not giving up. And so for One Heart for Women and Children, we always start with fresh food. And food, part of that is because of the 24 years ago, me being hungry with my children. So we feed the families first. We provide that food for them and then ask them, what else do you need? We want to know what they need so that we can connect them to the resources if we don't have the resources. I never want to go in and assume what somebody needs, because my assumption of what they need and what they actually need are probably two different things.
Right.
Very true. I mean, it's
So
it's a powerful ripple effect that you've created that has impacted so many lives and will generationally impact lives. I mean, think about what those people who loved you until you learned how to love yourself did for you and your children. And it just, I think that we forget a lot of times that the things that we do really do have a bigger impact than we're aware of. One Heart for Women and Children is one of my favorite because you are focused. We just did a beautiful fundraiser up here at Citrus Club. The energy is there, but the lives that you're changing or transforming, I guess is the word. It's overwhelming to listen to the stories and hear.
I want to thank you for that, Ted, and thank you for being at the gala. It was so much fun. There was so much, there were dollars that were raised to be able to further the mission. More so than that, each conversation that was happening that night was all full of love and light and people really enjoying themselves. Some people hadn't seen each other since before the pandemic. And we had a former client that was there that night and nobody there knew it. And I want to share with you that, like, looking to the left and looking to the right, wherever we are, we never know who it is that has had to have services, from so a place like One Heart or another resource center. And so she was there. She was dressed up in a beautiful gold gown. I didn't know she was coming. And so it was about 20 minutes into the gala had already started, and she came over and tapped me on the shoulder, and I'll tell you, I about fell to the ground. And she said, Stephanie, thank you for helping me to get to where I am. Do you remember where I was 12 years ago? I said, absolutely. So she was one of the first women that I life coached. And she also was living in a shelter and her children were in foster care. So similar stories. And now she's working for a law firm. She has not been without any of her needs in 8 years. Somebody in the community helped pay for her education. She's got a stability for her family. She actually just bought a home. And it was because Stephanie, it's because somebody believed in me, because somebody put their hand out and said, let me love you until you learn how to love.
I love it.
So yeah, that was a perfect example that you were able to do. It happened to you. You said that the generations before you showed that. And, it's sometimes we don't understand when we are going through, when we're in the mud of whatever life brings us, we ask a lot of questions, why, and of course, that
hold on just a second. I'm gonna edit this. We're filming and somebody's telling their story and all you've done is made noise.
I'm so sorry.
Please, I'm gonna have to edit. That's the third time.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I told you the last time. I love you, Chris, but dear God in heaven. I mean, the squeaky shoes. All right, so I'll have Christian cut that out.
So we're definitely, when we're in the mud, that I call it, we have questions, why, and but then later on, fast forward, for you to be able to then now transform, you first transformed yourself in whatever that way is, and now you are a light for others that are in the dark. Because that's how I feel. I feel like we are lights in the dark places. And sometimes we don't know what that light represents. For Ted, it's different. For me, for you. And so it's so amazing that we can look back and publicly share our stories, our pain, discomfort, and then to help someone, because we know right now there are people that are in your shoes, walking right now with addiction, with a cancer diagnosis, with domestic violence active, and just listening to your story, it makes a difference. And that's why we wanted to have this show, is so people can go, you mean I can overcome all of this? And for you, Stephanie, you've had like 3 or 4 things. It's not even just one thing. You've had a plethora of pain in the muddy waters there. But then look at you. Look at how you shine bright. Look at your smile.
Agreed.
That's a lot of love.
So much light and love.
I think that it's also, none of us are meant to do it alone. We can't do it alone. We can't live alone. We can't heal alone. We can't, none of it's meant to do alone. So when we surround ourselves, whether we're in happy celebration times or whether we're in dark, sad times, when we're surrounding ourselves or allowing other people to surround us, that are going to help us to heal, that are going to help encourage us, that are also going to be there to say, "Hey, are you doing okay? You're not quite yourself today." I think that is what more and more people need. It's also accountability. It helps us to grow. It helps us to learn from each other. And when we isolate, or when we think that, when I think that I can do it alone, or I don't need people around today, I tend to go back and say, why am I thinking that way?
Right. It's just, every time I hear you speak and every time I hear your journey, it's just so moving. And what I know is that there are people out there who will listen and hear and go, "Oh my God, I am her," or "I was her," and it just your story resonates, because I think we, as a society, we hide those kinds of things. We don't like to talk about addiction. Goodness, we barely even like to talk about cancer. It's just these things that really need to be talked about so people don't feel alone all the time. It's very lonely. I have never been homeless, but I have a lot of people I know who have. And that is probably one of the lowest lows that they have felt in their entire lives, because the helplessness is it's just rock bottom. And so for you to be able to come out of that and have people around you who loved you, it's just such a gift. And that you kept giving it. That to me, that's what's powerful, is that you continue to give it, Stephanie, and you do so much amazing work with One Heart for women and children. All right. Any closing remarks by the one and only Donna Morton-Morgan?
Ted, I know that people are also, we live in a world of social media where we get to hide the real us, the sadness, the depression, or the hopelessness, or anxiety, and all of that. And so this is just another example of Stephanie saying she had support, she had a village. Because if you're doing these things and experiencing these things alone, you may not make it through. You're going to get depressed. You're going to just feel defeated. So it's important to reach out with whatever it is that you are experiencing, you've been diagnosed with, you're challenged with. Reach out to, a few close family members or friends that's dear to you and say, "Hey, pray for me. I need help."
Yes.
Speak life over me. We don't understand that prayer is really speaking life, and it could be, you don't have to be this, amazing prayer. It really could just be your words of speaking love and light, and speaking protection over that individual. And so we want to just encourage people to just start doing more of that. If you see someone, so when I'm driving by and I see a homeless person now, I actually say, like, "God bless you." Those
Every
words
time,
are very, instead of just saying, "Oh, you're a bum and you're da 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 da," See, now we're speaking words of negativity over that life. So when we change and we speak life over that individual, we don't know who else is going to come behind me and bless him in whatever ways. So we just need to be a little bit more caring as individuals to people, because we all are experiencing some sort of something. And it's just always so wonderful to see people that have done the work to transform their lives, and then not only just doing it for yourself, but then turn around and get back into the work to do it for others. That's just,
it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, Stephanie.
Yeah.
All right. So you can reach Stephanie at oneheartorlando.org. You can reach Donna Morton-Morgan at Facebook or IG. Her @ is Inner Vibes Consulting. And we're going to be here each week. If you have somebody who has a journey or a story who's been transformed, maybe they are in the process of being transformed, helping others transform as well, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to have them on the show. You two are both a bright, shining light in our world. I hope you know that. Much love to both of you. We'll be back next week with Transformation Talk. Get involved, reach out. You're not alone.